Hello, everybody, and welcome on in. We're so excited to be having the second annual planning events for Engineers Week webinar. Um, we are thrilled to have everybody here. We're just going to give everybody a couple of minutes to jump in, and then we'll get right started. As we are getting ready to get started, this webinar is being recorded, which doesn't help anybody who's not here. I was going to say it's being recorded, so we'll send it to you if you're not here, but you're not here to hear me say that. But if you have to pop off because of other things, that's okay. We're going to send it to you. And if you're watching this later, hi, I was talking to you a second ago. If you have questions, you can put them into the question panel. We also have a chat area. So if anybody wants to let us know where you're from, we'd love to hear a little bit about where you're from and maybe if you've already got a plan for Engineers Week. I would personally love to hear about that. And I'm just going to make sure my Q&A panel is open so I can see when those come in. Um, my name is Sarah Summers. You guys may recognize me from other eWeek events. And if you're an educator from some of our educator webinars, Discover Engineering in the Classroom, I am the marketing manager here at DiscoverE. And I am a former teacher myself. I taught in middle school and high school for about a decade. I can see Milwaukee, Fayetteville. You've already got some plans. Love to hear it. Seattle and Atlanta. Almost all places. I don't know, maybe Milwaukee, and maybe you might have some snow. Kansas City, Richmond, Chester, Pennsylvania, Minneapolis, DC, that's where I'll be tomorrow-ish. Tyson's Corner. Pacific City, Oregon, Phoenix, Arizona. That's amazing. I hope everybody's having great weather because we are I'm in Western Massachusetts today, and we're at about 4 inches and climbing out my window. So, it's going to be cold here today. I hope that everybody else is nice and toasty. If you are new, who is DiscoverE? Well, we are, as engineers, put the E in STEM, and we're here to help get those experiences into students' hands. We're supporting educators and volunteers like yourself to build skills and confidence, to increase in interest and knowledge in engineering, and to expand opportunities for people to get into an engineering career because we're very fond of saying engineer is open to everyone. Dorothy from Doylestown, how are you doing? It's so nice to see you here. So I'm curious, you've heard a little bit about me, and I know kind of where you're from now, but I'm curious what role do you play in your organization? What do you do? We're always curious what people are doing when they are coming into our webinars. So that's fantastic. Pam says we normally ask our members to put together blogs about why they became transportation engineers that you post. Oh, that's such a good thing. Pamela, I really hope also that you'll consider coming to our communication focused where we talk about like how do we talk about Engineers Week and specifically kind of that marketing and communication side that we do that. I think we're doing that in late January. I've got a slide coming up at the end today that will show that. And an ACEC Virginia, welcome, Marshall, because we have an ACEC Indiana on our staff or on our presentation panelists today. So that's fantastic. And we've just been at about a minute. So we've got about 45% of you are engineering or STEM professionals. Love to see that. Teachers and after school leaders, we love to see that as well. And all of the other people are putting stuff in. I love that. Thank you. Well, thank you everybody for being here. Um, I have three amazing panelists today that I am so excited to talk to about what they've done for Engineers Week and what they're going to be doing. Latoya Jones is a media specialist at Sanders Park Elementary School and was the recipient of one of our Engineers Week grants last year. So thank you for being with us, Latoya. Kelly Shelton is a senior community investment specialist. um, for the electronic systems of BAE Systems. We're so thrilled to have her. And Liz Walker, as I mentioned, the Director of Workforce Development at ACEC Indiana. I would love to have my panelists turn on their cameras and unmute yourselves. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I'm so interested in the conversation we're about to have. Um, First off, everybody, thank you so much for being here. We are so excited to hear about what you have going on for Engineers Week. Um, and I guess, sorry, go ahead, Latoya. I interrupted. That was rude.
No, that's okay. I was just gonna say, hello. Like she said, I'm Latoya Jones. I'm a current teacher of 18 years, and I've been doing media specialist librarian for about 3 years. So I'm excited to bring all things STEM to the media center.
And we're so thrilled for all of these amazing panelists have something. So I guess, well, my first question is actually just tell us about your program, your Engineers Week or Girl Day plans for this year. And Latoya, I'm going to get you to start just because you are already chatty and I love that energy.
Okay. So I may piggyback on what I did last year where I did introduce the girl to engineering day, and I took the girls on a little field trip to our local library. I partnered with them so that we could do STEM activities, I mean engineering activities there. They did and we're elementary, so they did button creation, things that are very elementary friendly. They had a deep 3D printer there that they allowed the students to try out. Leading up to that activity, we did some little challenges that I got off the DiscoverE website about building and stacking and who could build the highest tower. So that just got them into just a little bit of more introducing of what engineering is, because they knew the E, but they didn't understand all it entailed. um Also, after Girl Day and taking the girls on a local field trip to the library, I did music engineering highlight for our boys. And we had a music engineer from a different local library that came and created some songs with the students. And they were very engaged in the activity and learning the process of music engineering. So I'll
I
most likely piggyback off of that this year.
I'm so excited that your students got those experiences. Um, Kelly, do you want to tell us a little bit about your plans for eWeek and Girl Day?
Yeah, of course. So, as you mentioned, I'm Kelly Shelton, the Senior Community Investment Specialist with BAE Systems. If you're not familiar, BAE Systems is an aerospace and defense company. We're a government contractor. Um, and I specifically work for our electronic systems sector that makes a lot of fun electronic components and different things. We even have components on the Martian rovers, on a lot of airplanes, F-35s, things like that. And our community investment focus is on STEM, which is getting kids excited about engineering and science, and that's why we're here today. And we also have a big focus on veterans and supporting active duty military and their families. So those are our big focus areas. But for Engineers Week last year, we were able to execute about 24 projects across our 20 sites across the country. And we plan to do about the same for 2026 as well. We were able to engage with over 1,000 students and get about 200 employees engaged in volunteerism with those students. And, we typically choose an activity from DiscoverE's resources, and we provide the supplies and everything for our employees to execute those volunteer events across the country. And last year we did balloon rockets, so that was fun. And then we also engage in a few different ways. Like we'll invite some clubs, like Girls Who Code clubs, on field trips to our sites to kind of explore and get an insider look at what we're doing. And they get to see these electronic components being built close up. So it's kind of a cool, fun thing that we did last year. And then we'll also go out to some museums and do some demo activities and things like that. So we vary it. But yeah, that's about what we plan to do this year as well, and kind of expand upon how we tell that story and how we engage with the students.
That is so exciting. And to hear that you guys put together the kits for your employees to take in that have all of the things as a teacher, that makes my heart so happy. So that's amazing. And Liz in Indiana, I didn't ask earlier, is it snowing where you are?
Yeah, we have I don't know, 4 or 5 inches, depending on where you're at in Indiana here. So it's
Oh
snowy for
man,
sure.
it's snowy for sure. Well, I guess welcome to December. Tell us what ACC Indiana is doing for eWeek and the other programs that you offer.
Yeah, first of all, thanks so much for having me, Sarah, and DiscoverE. This is I've been following you all for a while, so to be on this side of it, to be helping is really great. So excited to be here. So if you're not familiar, ACEC is the American Council of Engineering Companies. So hello to my friends in Virginia that are here. But we're a trades association for consulting engineering. So we naturally focus very heavily on civil engineering and the civil construction industry. So a lot of what we come from is the built environment, and we're teaching kids about civil engineering. That's kind of the space we live in. But every year during National Engineers Week, we host classroom visits in our schools throughout the state of Indiana. So this past February, we were in over 200 classrooms. It took over 200 volunteers to make that happen. And we estimate that we visited over 7,300 students over the span of those, 4 days, because we lose President's Days. Usually we're out of school. So over a span of less than a week, we touched over 7,000 Indiana students. And, we try to, as ACEC, we try to provide the volunteers what they need to prepare for that. I can get into that a little bit further into the panel, but try to make it as easy as possible. So I serve in this volunteer coordinator role, and I help connect the teachers to our volunteers to make those classroom visits possible.
And I really appreciate you mentioning that normally you only get 4 days in classrooms because of President's Day, but this year Engineers Week does not fall over President's Day weekend. So you're getting that bonus day to be in classrooms this year. That's exciting.
Yes, yes.
And I guess lore for people in the chat, the reason why Engineers Week is not always aligned with President's Day weekend is that Engineers Week always must be during George Washington's actual birthday, which isn't always President's Day weekend, President's Day or President's Day weekend. So that's why this year we've gotten a ton of emails like, we think your dates are wrong. It's not President's Day weekend. That's true. It's not this year. One of the few years that it isn't. So I'll go around again and I'll ask, what are some of the highlights that you have offered at past events? I know you all kind of talked about something that you've done. Is there maybe one thing that you're the most proud of or that you think was very impactful, or maybe a story from a student or a volunteer about something that really stood out to you? Liz, you were nodding, so I'm going to point at you first.
Sure, yeah. So during more of a Girl Day event, but as a part of National Engineers Week, we also partner each year with the Girl Scouts of Central Indiana, and we help, usually it's a group of between, 25 and 30 girls earn some sort of STEM badge, sometimes two STEM badges over the course of, 5 or so hour day, boot camp style. With some volunteers. And there is one particular student that we are still in touch with. Her name's Brooklyn. She's a middle schooler. And because she will tell me this, her mother told me this, because she came that one random time to that one random Girl Scout ACEC event, she knew as a middle schooler, like, yes, I want to be a civil engineer. I know that this is what I want to do. I am always interested in construction, and I really like buildings being built. Like, her eyes lit up, and to see that happen in real time,
Mm,
for me as someone who coordinates this and helps our volunteers with materials and makes those connections possible, but for our members to see that, she left that day, and I connected her with one of our members. She went to tour their office, and they went and saw a bridge being built in mid-cycle. And so for that student to have that connection with us so early, and to have that with such clarity, see that's the moment for me. It's like, oh, Brooklyn, it's like, we did this for Brooklyn, and we are doing this for all the little Brooklyns that are out there, right? Like, that's kind of my feel good story.
I love that. And you've hit on so many pieces of like we call it like the magic formula of building a student's STEM identity, is, role models are so critical. And so the work that you and Kelly in particular are doing, connecting kids with that, I think is so, so important. It can't be underscored, which is why we encourage everybody, if you're coming from a place where you don't actively work with students, getting out and volunteering is so, so important. And either your employer or a member, a society that you're a part of, definitely probably has some opportunities. Hopefully even more opportunities after today. Kelly, is there something that really stands out for you in a past event?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned a little bit about our Girls Who Code clubs that came on tours and did some field trips out to our sites. Those are always the highlight for me whenever we get those pictures back of the girls getting to wear the lab coats and getting the insider look at everything that we're doing, and getting to see, something that people don't do every day, and getting to interact with our engineers in person. But I think that outside of that, the biggest thing for me that is a highlight for Engineers Week is just the catalyst that it is for what happens the rest of the year. So not only does it, have these engagements during the week, but it also encourages and kind of lights a fire with our employees to volunteer outside of Engineers Week with other STEM activities that we plan. And then it also gets the sites excited to do more field trips. So we even did a few with our first robotics teams that we sponsor that came to the site and got to interact with our engineers and our teammates there. So I think it's more about just like what grows after the week, and what it inspires for the rest of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I love so many of those sentiments there. We're going to dig deeper, I know, into a few of them. I love that. Latoya, is there something from last year that really stands out to you as being really impactful that you did with your students?
Um, so the community connections that came out of
Mm.
the activity, our local libraries are very much so underused as now. So just connecting my students to that activity, let them know that we have resources in their community that they can go to. And the library employees were so
Mm.
excited to have us. They welcome us back. They've already emailed me this year. They're excited about coming to visit. They're like hands-on, ready to be involved in that connection with our school, and our students know now they can go and do those things because it's local to us and they can get there.
That's so incredible. I love hearing that that connection is so important for students to be able to know, oh, this is my community and I'm welcome here. I belong here. Like that's all of those are such great messages. I have a series of very practical questions about planning events. And my first one is, how do you decide who your Engineers Week programs are going to be for? Like that initial first step of planning, how do you decide who you're planning for? Does anybody want to? I guess Kelly hasn't gone first yet, so I'll put Kelly first.
Sure. So for us, we like to work mainly with our nonprofit grant recipients. So folks that we are already engaged with on that level. And that includes like a lot of out of school time organizations, boys and girls clubs, things like that. Um, and we also engage with schools and causes that our employees care about. So if there are schools that our employees just really want to go to because a lot of employees have students there, then and they want to help organize it, then we definitely are supportive of making sure that execution happens. So that's kind of how we go about deciding who the programs are going to be for.
That's I'm so eager to hear the next two answers that I know are gonna go. Liz, how do you decide who your programs are for?
Yeah, it's funny. We actually put the invite out to teachers. So I'll kind of touch on our classroom visits if that's helpful. We have a listserv of teachers that has been built over many years of running this program. So between assistant principals, and teachers and counselors, I have over 1,800 emails that I can correspond with on a routine basis, which is helpful, right? We've built that up
Mhm.
for years and years. But so really it's for our program, the teachers invite us to come out. And so every October 1st, I put the call out to our teachers to say, we're open for classroom visits. When would you like us to come during E-Week? And some people email me right back and say, hey, we are doing our own activity that week. Can you come in March? And of course I say yes. And then I, one-off help them find a volunteer. But for the most part, those teachers fill out some sort of survey from me. It's evolved a little bit over time, but basically date and time they want us to come out, what those students are learning in class right now, grade level, all the key information that we need. We also ask them about logistic stuff like, you know, do we need a background check for our volunteers? Those kind of practical things as well. We get all that up front. And then I, coordinate with our volunteers to connect them to that opportunity on the back end. So I work with the teacher, make a big schedule, and then I put that out to our members to volunteer for those classroom visits. And so for E-Week, we really go to anyone that asks us to come. I would say when we are targeting schools and when we are working with community partners and we are choosing to be more intentional with our outreach, I would say we focus on middle and high school outreach, but during National Engineers Week, we will go anywhere that asks us to come. So we have been on the floor playing Duplos with preschoolers during E-Week because that's what was asked of us, and we'll do it. So yeah, it depends on what the teachers want. We try to customize that for them and just show up because we've been asked to go. So
That's incredible. Yeah, that's so incredible that you're starting in October. I know that a lot of people, maybe this is their first time going, oh, I should maybe do something next year. And we definitely hear from people who last year we heard from somebody who in February decided that she wanted to run something and ended up putting something together for like 15 or 20 girls for Girl Day. So I love that early activation and getting the teachers and obviously, you've got teachers who are like ready, who have participated year after year and know what they're looking for. That's incredible. Latoya, now you are an elementary school teacher, so you have a very specific group of kids there. How do you decide? But like your elementary school is what, K to five? Is it?
Pre-K to 5,
Pre-K
yes.
to five, how do you decide like do you work with all of the pre-K to five or are you like I'm taking grade 3 this year and grade 7 next
Yeah.
or grade 4 next year?
Yeah, exactly. So it is a big school. So since I started last year, I did choose a grade level to work with. So I targeted, I connected with my second grade teachers and I chose second grade students to work with. This year, it's funny. I heard Liz say about the Girls Who Code. I actually did start one of those clubs this year, and I have some of those young ladies to work with. So I will initially start with them or do something with them first, and then still connect with my second grade group again, the new second grade group this year.
I am so excited. And I guess you've been teaching for 18 years. So to see kind of this is your second year of doing the e-week events, but I'll be so curious in a few years to connect again and see how those kids
Mhm.
who have done it year after year after year, how
Mhm.
that's evolving for them. I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you all so much for those answers. Kelly and Liz, this one is a little bit more specifically for you. And Latoya, I'm gonna change it slightly for you. But Kelly and Liz, how do you find volunteers? So how are you, what are the practical ways that you're doing that to find engineers to or employees to help you?
I can start. So I'm very fortunate to have a very active membership that to pull from, right? We're a trades association, so all of our member companies are partnered with us on purpose, and they believe in our mission, and they want to help our overall work succeed. So I have a lot of people that want to help. So there's a good start. But we also are very active on our committee side of things. I staff 3 committees that are focused on some form of education, workforce development, higher education engagement, working with our colleges, or professional development for our industry. So I have lots of volunteers there that not only help me with things like eWeek, but they also just help keep me grounded in what we need as an industry and how I can leverage my role to help support them best. So it's not, I definitely find myself scrambling to fill classrooms sometimes. That's definitely, I can't pretend that's not happening, but I am fortunate that I have a very active membership just within ACEC Indiana, that mostly that's where I pull my volunteers from. We also partner heavily with our DOT, our Department of Transportation, and they volunteer a lot with us, as well as our Citizens Energy, our utility side of things, and our construction partners. They work with us for our e-week classrooms as well. So it's not just ACEC members, it's all of our transportation industry partners and or just other, civil construction partners. They all kind of all hands on deck help us with the program.
That's awesome. So on our side, we do a lot of communications and try through various channels to reach our employees and let them know what's happening and how they can be engaged. So we'll send out sector-wide communications through email, through our internal website. We put e-signs up at our sites. We do targeted emails to teams and past volunteers. We put things in site newsletters, but then we also connect with our wonderful resource of our charity champions. We have employees at each site that have volunteered to take this on in addition to their normal duties to be the charity champions for their site, which just means they are our go-to person when it comes to basically rallying everyone around a cause or around an activity that's happening sector-wide. So we reach out to those folks and they help amplify that message and recruit folks as well. So that's really how we try to get the word out.
I love those. I love the practical side of this webinar so much. Ellen, if for those of you who don't know, Ellen is our program manager for Engineers Week and Girl Day, and she is my producer and helping me on the back end. Ellen, would you drop into the chat links to the event guide, the volunteer guide, and the educator guide? Because we're getting some questions that I think those are going to be great resources for, and I'd love to have those links. Latoya, let me ask you, because you're not necessarily looking for volunteers to work with your kids, but you are looking for outreach opportunities for your kids to go to. How do you find those?
We have a department here, a STEM department in my district, and they share out a lot of different things. Like they were the ones who initially shared out the DiscoverE grant opportunity. So I watch their board and I check out what anytime Engineering Week is coming up, they post a lot of resources and things we could look into. So that's my go-to for finding more connections and activity ideas and things. And that's how I found DiscoverE.
Yay! I'm so glad to hear about that. And then my next very practical question is, how are you finding participants? And I know some of you have said, Liz, you said, you send out this form for teachers who then volunteer, which is lovely. Latoya, I'm curious, because we all chatted before this webinar. You had something very specific that you were doing for Girl Day, introduce a girl to engineering day last year, and the boys at your school got very excited about having their own opportunities. So I'm wondering if you'll tell that story.
Well, before they got excited, they got upset with me because they heard I had to send out field trip forms with the girls because we were leaving the school. And they heard about it and they ran to me. That's not fair. Why did they get to go? And I was, calm down, guys. I have something planned for you. I didn't already have it planned, but I was planning it already in my head. And I was like, no, I have a surprise for you guys too. And so that's how the idea I had to reach out to the music engineer at the other library came about, and he was willing to come out. And so I had their own activity just for them that they could do the next day after Girl Day.
I love that so much because Girl Day, just like engineering, is open to everyone. So
Yeah.
I loved when you got to tell us that story about how the boys were like, we want an opportunity.
Yeah.
That's such a great spirit. Kelly, Liz, I'm wondering, do you have anything else that you wanted to add around participants specifically, or anything else that you're doing to help foster, or Liz, maybe to grow that list that you referred to?
Yeah. So, in addition to, well, obviously we've got our listserv that didn't come from nothing, right? So we had, years of our e-week program, just maintain that, foster that, love on that group of people that wants us to come back every year. But, as part of my full-time role, I started here 3 years ago. I spend time going to conferences that are focused on teachers and counselors. So I try to show up where they are and make sure they know who we are as a resource to them as teachers. And so I was just last week, I was at the Indiana School Counselors Conference, and you would not believe the number of counselors that were surprised that we do this for free, that this is a volunteer-based program, and that we come into the classroom and we teach kids about engineering, and we'll bring hands-on activity supplies, and they just couldn't believe that that was a free resource. So I finally got a little sign from my table that says free on it, because they just couldn't believe that we do that for free. But I would say that's the main way that we're continuing to grow that. I also have a subcommittee of volunteers that are literally just searching the internet for more contacts for me at our schools that are not on our list already. They've scrubbed my listserv and they know what counties are missing, and they're actively helping me grow the list too. So like I said, it's all hands on deck, but yeah, trying every year to attend more things and get in front of those teachers more directly.
I love that. Kelly?
Yeah, so we've done a few different things to kind of try to grow it over the years, with increased outreach to nonprofit partners we might not have engaged with in the past on that level,
Mhm.
ones that we maybe give smaller grants to, but want to see if they have an interest in us coming in and providing an activity. And then we try to meet them where they're at. Like if there's a museum that we partner with and they don't have a set day time that might work for them. We'll come in shifts, or we'll set up a table, or we'll do something a little different for the different organizations that we work with. So we try to adjust what we bring to the table and what we're going to offer depending on who the partner is. So that's how we've kind of increased the way that we've engaged with different participants, is just by trying to meet them where they're at.
I think that that's so important. I've heard that now from all three of you, of Latoya, like being in the community and finding support in the community for the kids to
Mhm.
participate in. And then Liz and Kelly, like going to where the people are, and meeting them where they are. I think that that's such an important piece that I want to give encouragement to anybody who's here. Start in your backyard. Start at the elementary school or the middle school or the high school down the street from you. You can't reach everybody in 1 year. We've definitely tried. We've been doing this for a while. So, just start small if that's where you can start, and get started and see where that goes. I love that. I have a couple more kind of semi-practical questions for you here. What are some things that you give out? I know Liz and Kelly, you've both mentioned kits, like preparing the activity with all of the pieces. I'm curious to know a little bit more. How do you decide which activity? Who is responsible for like physically putting together those kits, and how do they get distributed out to the people? I'm curious if you'll talk us through a little bit of your process.
That I can start. So in the past, we've just chosen an activity
Mhm.
for Engineers Week. We go online mainly to the DiscoverE resource page where they have all the activities, and you can sort by how long they take and age group and all of that. And it's a fantastic way to search up an activity. And we chose balloon rockets last year. And one of the main reasons was because the supplies were easily accessible, because we don't want anything that's going to be hard for us to send out or be able to for our employees to put together. So we last year we did something a little different, and we chose like 3 different activities, and we put a poll up for our employees to vote on which one they thought we should do during Engineers Week. And we had over 800 responses, which was kind of cool to see everyone engage with the poll. So that's how the balloon rockets got chosen. We haven't done that yet this year, so we're still deciding on what the activity is going to be. And to answer your question as to who puts the kits together, it all comes to my house, and my kids help me put them together, and we have a good time. They help me count out all the supplies and separate them all out, and I try to put everything into like labeled bags so they know exactly what they're getting. Another thing that we do is we send stickers from the DiscoverE's website as well, and then we also print out all of those completion certificates from DiscoverE's resources so that they can have those to take home with them. And then we also send home a parent letter that kind of walks their parents through, hey, what they did today and what they learned, and a little bit about BAE systems. And then we send them home with something fun. Either it's an activity they can do at home with their parents, or last year we did these little puzzle balls that say BAE systems that they could take home. And it was a fun little giveaway.
I love that. Gosh, yeah, I love particularly the parents' letter, like really activating those conversations at home so that we get those Brooklyns that start to talk about it and know what they're wanting to do. I think that that's such a unique. I haven't heard anybody say that yet in these webinars, so I really, really particularly love that one. Liz, what about you?
Yeah, so for I'll kind of put it in two buckets for events that we do year round. So events with the Girl Scouts, smaller pop-up events. We just did one a couple Saturdays back with the Minority Engineering Program of Indianapolis that focuses on minority youth and engineering programming. So we have those partners that have little pop-up events. I staff those, and those supplies get shipped to my house, and I've got sand and soil and bottles in my car to get it there, right? For classroom visits during National Engineers Week, I rely very heavily on my volunteers to bring that. And so it's because there's just so many, there's 200 classrooms. I can't possibly get 200 kits mailed out. So what we do is pull together the best that we think that teach the civil engineering that have the fewest amount of supplies that makes it easy for the volunteers to use. So we pull from DiscoverE's list of activities. The recommended here are the 6 activity. You don't even have to go look. We've done it for you. Here they are. And here's what you need. And here's how long it takes. And here's the grade levels that it supports, right? And so we've got a nice, handy kind of toolkit that we give our volunteers. ACEC gives that out as a part of our eWeek volunteer resources. For those that want to do a hands-on activity. But that volunteer is, I mean, if they want to do a marshmallow toothpick bridge, they have to go to the store and buy marshmallows and toothpicks. And they do it. And I love that about them. And if they don't have the means, or the firm, doesn't want to do that, then, they do something else. We also provide presentation materials. So we have age appropriate presentation templates for all grade levels, elementary through high school. ACEC also gives out handouts and activity pages for the little kiddos. We also have an activity book that we have prepared over and massaged over a couple of years to make that the way we like. And that's focused on elementary kids as well. So as ACEC, we're fortunate to, again, I have me and I have a lot of committee volunteers that help me build those resources, and they're just all housed in our volunteer resources bank. And anyone volunteering for me and at our events can pull those resources down at any time. And, somebody I'm going to an event and I have 2 hours with kids. I'm like, great, here's DiscoverE. Here's a big old list of activities you can pull from too. So I just try to be the coordinator of resources, give folks what they need to succeed. But yeah, those smaller events that are more local to me, there's definitely bags of sand and stuff in my car too. So it takes both, I would say.
It absolutely does. Kelly, would you hold up the little ball again? Somebody in chat was asking what the little puzzle ball was.
Yeah, it's got one empty side, and so they have a color like on each of the rings, and so then you move the balls around, and then you have to get them back to the associated color. So
Okay.
it was just
Kind of like a Rubik's Cube a little bit.
Buy it on the promotional websites or whatever, but it's a good little fun puzzle.
I love that. And Liz, somebody in chat would love to collaborate with you. So I'm going to put up everybody's contact information so that you can all get in contact, because I love to see that there is this kind of collaboration. And I want to answer one of the questions that came into chat. Um, uh, Christopher Rice in chat says, I represent the local chapter of the Congress for New Urbanism group that advocates for better urban living here in Austin and Central Texas. One of our goals this year is to start a Central Texas Future City competition. Yay, Future City. We're so proud of that competition. Currently, they exist in a couple of other areas of Texas, but they're just starting to raise awareness among educational institutions and seventh and eighth grade youth groups across Central Texas, as well as within the local professional community. So, for those of you that don't know, Future City is a STEM competition that DiscoverE presents every year, that focuses on a theme. This year's theme is farm to table. Last year was above the current, which dealt with floating cities, which was really cool. I know what next year's theme is going to be, but I can't tell, or they will like cancel this webinar and fire me immediately. So it's like a big secret. So Christopher is asking, oh, and sorry, and Future City takes a lot of volunteers. Future City internationally, the middle school program reaches about 70,000 students around the world, which is incredible, and requires about 4,500 adult volunteers to make happen every year. So Christopher is asking, what are strategies for building interest from educators, as well as financial or leadership involvement from private and public professionals? Wow, that was a lot. And I want to say I'm not going to put this question necessarily to any of you, but I do want to reference some of the answers that you have all already given, and Kelly has an idea too. Um, I want to reiterate that one thing that Latoya said is that she heard about opportunities like the DiscoverE grant from her school and from her STEM organizer within her district. Those are great people to reach out to. The STEM organizer for your district, the STEM lead teacher, whatever it is that their title is, that is a person that you want to know about you, because they will get the word out for sure. And then I would say also, something else that I heard from Liz is going to where teachers or professionals are. So whether that's a trade convention, or a professional development day, going and doing that, I think is really important. And then Kelly, mentioned really just activating the employees and getting the employees to talk about it. And so I think that those are really solid answers. The other thing, Christopher, that I would add to that is definitely get in contact with engineering societies, with the ACEC of Texas, or if there's a Central Texas ACEC, get involved with NISB and SHIP and the NSPE, all of the engineering societies. Those are going to be great places to also find volunteers. Kelly, did you have something more that you wanted to add there?
I just wanted to add that we have a site in Austin. If Chris wanted to connect, I'm happy to chat further.
I love to hear that, making these connections. So, Christopher, I hope that that's very helpful. We get a version of this question every year of, I'm an engineer and I want to go into a classroom. How do I find a teacher? Just ask. Really, just call and ask. Be aware that you might need a background check. I heard Liz, I think, say that earlier. So be aware that you might need that. And then I hear from the other side, I've got engineers, or I'm a teacher and I want an engineer. Call an engineering society, your ACEC chapter, a large engineering firm like BAE, that has engineers, because they will have programs, employee engagement programs. Sometimes it's just like Googling it, looking. Social media is really helpful for this as well. Just ask, I think, is one of my big pieces. Okay, I want to go back to our questions here. And I want to know what are, because this is another really practical question. What are some things that you have to plan for, that didn't originally cross your mind when you were like, I'll take on the planning of all these events? Kelly, I heard you say that you put things in bags that are labeled. And I thought that was so important. Like the labels on bags. I wouldn't have been like, I need to buy labels when I'm planning for this, but that's so important. What are some other things that you can think of that you need to plan for that you didn't originally think of?
Well, one thing that's always tricky, and it depends on what you're planning to do with any photos that you take, but photo releases can always be tricky, especially with minors. So if you're planning on wanting to use any photos with children or students, or just being really mindful about how you tell your employees to take photos, or take it from behind the kids so that their faces aren't in the photos, if you aren't able to get releases. So it's just tricky little things like that where we try to navigate those in advance, and get it releases from our employees too, so that we can help promote that online and through social media after the events are over. And then, of course, it's just all the logistics, like leading up to it, and everything that everyone needs to know, from very detailed volunteer guides to volunteer instructions to frequently asked questions that may come up, and just providing as many resources as possible. We have a volunteer guide that we supply to all of our employees. We have a set of facilitator instructions for the activity, and then one for the students that's a little simpler, so that they can take it home with them if they want to do the activity again at home. So, you just, there's a lot of just little things to think about as you're planning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll add to that. Our form has evolved over time because those little things have come up repeatedly. And then we realize, oh, we better add that in. Oh, we better add a photo release. Oh, we better ask about background checks. And so over the years, those are things that we've included in that teacher form up front. One thing that it's in February every year. So obviously weather can be a depending factor. So we always ask up front what a contingency plan is for a 2-hour delay for the school day. It's a new
Mm.
thing that we started asking because these are classroom visits. So it's very dependent on the school and, student being at school. So another thing we do is if the school day is entirely canceled, likely that others across the state will be. So I always kind of warn my volunteers up front that, hey, once you connect with that teacher, because any given volunteer may only be connected with, I don't know, 3 to 5 teachers, right? If they're doing multiple visits, that's probably the max they're going to do. But I always encourage my volunteers to think about it through the lens of, hey, you've kind of made that commitment to that teacher. Can you follow through with that commitment? And even if your classroom
Mm.
visit gets canceled, if you can't go during E-week, can you go in March? Can you go in
Mm.
April? Can you find some other time? And 95% of the time, my volunteers say, yep, I rescheduled that. It's going to be a month from now, or hey, I'm going to go next Friday or something. Like I've got the best volunteers in the world because they know that once they've made that connection with that teacher, that that they're excited to have someone come into their classroom, or they wouldn't have invited us. But those students are excited too, and just it helps build the program. It helps build that connection between education and industry, and just kind of strengthens the whole thing. So it's heavy on the backs of volunteers, but I've fortunate to have people willing to do that. So school cancellation is definitely something we have had to deal with in the past.
And I think that that's also so important because, as you said, those connections that the volunteers, the professionals, when they get to see those moments of students lighting up and having those real connections, we have heard from so many, particularly future city volunteers, at how it's revitalized their career and their excitement for what they're doing, and kind of opened up a new path within their career. So I really appreciate that. Latoya, what was something surprising last year that you needed to plan for? I mean, I guess just the boys' day kind of came out of nowhere. But was there anything else that surprised you last year?
Just giving that prior knowledge beforehand. I needed to make sure I do that so they would know why we're celebrating this week. So just giving them that prior knowledge. Right about now, I will be stirring up excitement about the week coming up. Creating. I shared. You guys recently highlighted our activity on your website, so I've shared it with the students. Just getting them excited early, and giving them that background knowledge early on, planning for that so they'll know why.
I Yeah. Oh gosh, that's so important. I remember one of the people last year, Marina, who was in chat earlier, was talking about kind of starting early, and going through like other careers that you could also do. So I think that that's so critical. Um, And Latoya, there's a very specific question for you that just came into chat. When you
Mhm.
said that you shared information on the website to get kids interested, what were the things that you were sharing?
So, DiscoverE highlighted their how you can use their grants, and my school was highlighted on there. I believe it was Ellen that wrote that
Mhm.
blog, and so I shared that out with the students this year. Last year, I didn't have anything to share; it was a new event for us. But I started this year. I started with that as the initial spark of interest, so they could see that we did it last year, and some of their fellow students were able to participate. So that was the what I shared from DiscoverE's website.
That's so good. And there's another question that came in specifically to connect Marina and Liz. Ellen, Marina, don't worry. Ellen will get you two sent an email to each other because I think I'll just voluntold Ellen to do that, is what you guys all just watch me do live there. Okay. Gosh, we're going to run out of time. This happens every year. I'll go to I've got two questions and we're going to do them kind of rapid fire, okay? Our theme this year for Engineers Week 2026 is Transform Your Future. And I was just curious if you have a short response of what does that theme mean to you, and has that inspired your Engineers Week planning?
I can start. To me, it means innovation as well as inspiring others to innovate and create solutions to like better their communities. So getting kids thinking about like how can they think of new ways to improve their communities through engineering. So that's what it means to me.
I love that.
For
Okay.
me, it means early exposure so that they know there's these different types of careers out
Mm,
there that they can do. So I am here to make sure they're exposed to that information.
it's amazing.
Yeah, when we talk about civil engineering specifically, since we dial in on that a lot, we talk about how civil engineers change the world, and
Mm,
we often want to show students the transformation of technology and how technology has changed not everything, but especially our industry and how we changed how we design and build the world around us. And it's we play in the dirt a lot, right? Like that's like civil engineers. Some people think we still drive trains. That's real. I heard that less than a month ago. So I think there's a misconception we have in civil, so especially that there's this world that's being like we're being left behind as technology takes off. That is not true at all. There are so many modern advances going on in engineering design, and so it's trying to bring those new advances to students' eyes, and so it's not just no bad reps on robotics, but like so robotics isn't the only fun thing that looks cool, right? Like how do we make civil engineering cool and transformative and modern, and how do we get with the time? So that's the struggle I find myself in a lot, and I will be in that struggle for years, and that's okay. But that's what it means to me.
I love that so much. And shout out to the IMAX movie Cities of the Future that came out last year that might be playing at an IMAX cinema near you. So if you're looking for an e-week activity, that might be a good one. Future City was a participant in that, and it was, I think the kind of project lead was the American Society of Civil Engineers, unless I'm totally wrong and I've just gotten in a lot of trouble. I think it was ASCE. So I'm super super keen. Okay, good. Liz is like reassuring me. And it's such a good movie, and I'm in it. That's not the only reason it's a good movie, but like I saw myself in the background, and that was super very weird experience. Um, okay, my final question is, what are your go-to DiscoverE resources? I'm just going to pin you down for one. What's one thing that you use that DiscoverE produces that you think might help somebody else?
I think I already mentioned like the STEM activities, the certificates, and the stickers. I know you said one thing, but the other thing that we do share out with all of our grant recipients is we try to share out the grant opportunity that DiscoverE offers. So to anyone that we're connected with through our own grants, we share that as well in case it might benefit their program.
Amazing. Thank you.
I use the activity library, the challenges that are on there, the resources that are on there for are, accessible materials that I have here that I can use. So I appreciate you guys putting that library together.
And
You're so very welcome.
yeah, and obviously I've mentioned we use DiscoverE resources and the catalog there, but we also use your research too, and just some of the
Mm.
narrative that you provide around the importance of engineering and the lack of engineering students meeting an engineer in their youth and in their education journey. And so some of those just really hard pieces of data and narrative are really useful for us as we help inspire volunteers within our membership to join on and be a part of our programming. So definitely your data and your research is valuable for us as well.
Well, shout out to the Messages Matter research. You can find it. I'll drop a link in chat here in a minute. Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate it so much. I'll put up some here. Let me share my screen again. And this is how you can get in contact with any of our guests, as well as myself, in case there's anything that you wanted to connect with them about. I'll give you a couple of seconds to screenshot this, but of course, we're going to send this recording and these slides to you so that you're going to be able to reach out to them. And we're so excited for these connections. If you guys are making connections, we'd love to hear about it because we're always super keen to see how these go. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you so much. This has been really wonderful. I have a couple more slides, so don't feel like you have to keep your cameras on. But thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome. So we have a couple of other downloadable resources that I wanted to share that were mentioned. The certificates are free. We've got ads, we've got Zoom backgrounds, we've got sample social media posts if you're looking for them, bookmarks. We do things in Spanish. We can do things in other languages if you'll send us a translation. We would love to work with you to get it out. Last year we had a Portuguese version. So you can go and find that at discovere.org/downloadable resources. We also have other merch. We have some merchandise that you can purchase if you are interested in providing some things or you don't want to have to go through figuring out where your stuff is. The t-shirt, the cup, you can find those for Engineers Week and Girl Day. I'm sorry, we have a ton of stickers, not just these ones, but other ones. And I do have a coupon code for you if you're looking for it. The coupon code Kickoff 2026, even though not technically the kickoff, that is the coupon code that's going to work for you to get you a little bit of a discount because you were here with us for this. But it's only good for 48 hours. So by the time we send this out, it's not going to be good. So if you're going to go do a purchase, write that code down here on Giving Tuesday, and you can use it in the next 48 hours. We have a couple of other webinars, so if you're interested, we'd love to have you. Being an effective volunteer, so this is very practical. The ASAR, who is our Deputy Executive Director, is going to come and share. I can repeat the code. Yeah, sorry, Kickoff 2026, capital K, Kickoff 2026. Being an effective volunteer, DSR is going to come and give very specific, very practical advice on what you should be doing if you are a volunteer working with students. What are some of the language choices that you should be making in terms of being very encouraging, how to lead an activity. It's such a practical webinar. So if you have volunteers that you work with, maybe you're organizing some volunteers, they will want to be a part of this. So send this out to them. Also, celebrating engineers is one that I referred to earlier. This is really about celebrating Engineers Week. How are we practically doing that from a communications and messaging standpoint, whether that's social media or email communications or putting big posters. We do an escalator at the Future City Finals location that's 26 feet long. We do an escalator wrap to celebrate Engineers Week. So what can you do, and some very practical ways to do that. And then we also have a teaching engineering, and so we had one that was for volunteers. This one's going to be more for teachers and educators in formal and informal classrooms. What are some practical things that you can be doing when you're leading an engineering activity, particularly if you're not an engineer yourself? I didn't come from an engineering background. I ended up being the STEM makerspace Minecraft teacher. So this was research that is well founded, and some strategies that are very well thought out and executed to help you encourage your students the best. We will send the Zoom links to everybody today. I want to shout out the event toolkit, which the link just got dropped in chat. It's such a great toolkit, a step-by-step guide. It's 8 pages. It's incredible. And of course, today is Giving Tuesday, and I would be remiss if I did not say that DiscoverE is a nonprofit corporation. So if your company has a gift matching program and you would like to donate, or you're just interested in donating, that would be an amazing thing to help get more resources into more student experiences and more hands. I'm going to go again back up to, I think this is a one that everybody would love to see. These are the ways that you can connect with today's panelists, including me. Thank you all so much for being with us. We are so excited to meet with you again in the new year and see what your plans are for Engineers Week. Have a very wonderful December, and we will see you at our countdown. Our countdown starts in just a few weeks, our countdown to E-Week. So thanks, everybody. Thank you to our panels. Thank you to Ellen for being such an amazing producer and Engineers Week program manager. We'll see you all next year. Bye.